Yo, Graduation is probably Kanye's most lyrical album. It's either that or Watch the Throne because I mean, obviously, I can't even troll, but Kareem, maybe Jordan, and then Nas could be Kareem. Uh, being Jay Z kind of got smashed on a couple of them songs. Now, be it we all know that Kanye doesn't write all his lyrics, but I mean, shouts out to Malik Youssef or whoever wrote them. Malik Youssef, really dope. Rhyme Fest, a thousand other writers. It don't matter. He did it. So Graduation, it seems to be, of course, it's that whole writer thing. I think the only album he's written probably is College Dropout. Even then, let's question it. But regardless, yeah, we're gonna start off just like that on this episode. Okay, I think we 1 minute in, so I can cuss. It's called Scaring the Hoes. I'm gonna do Scaring the Hoes. This ain't gonna be volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is just me. We going with the title already, Scaring the Hoes. Apparently, I'll be doing that a lot, more ways than one. I don't think so. I ain't out here wilding. I definitely ain't talking Lupe Fiasco, except for one good woman on Twitter. I won't give out too many hints, but y'all know I'm a big fan of her. So we be going back and forth on Lyrical Miracle. So that might be my woman. That might be the woman of my dreams. She's a big mark for a rapper not that far from where I grew up. Uh, and then I argue that another rapper that grew up not that far from where I grew up was better. But that's besides the fact. I feel like I'm giving more hints away. So I just decided to scare the host today, unfortunately. So did this for sure is. And it came on the fact of, well, with me and how I record, for the most part, it's impromptu. And I just decided, you know what? I got thoughts about this. Why not put it on wax? Because I feel like other than having conversations with people I'm close to, why not just put certain stuff on wax? Like this is content. Like I don't believe in wasting words. I'm a very mute person at times. It seems like people force me to talk, and then people force me to have reactions too, especially women. I ain't trying to sound like this the incel podcast, but it seems to be women just want me to be a little bit more aggressive in conversations. I can't do that. That's just not me. I'd rather not talk then at that point. I'd rather not talk in general, but definitely if you want me to show any aggression, that's women and women. Women and women, men and women. You can't get that out of me. I don't have that moral compass because then when I get mad, then all hell breaks loose and you're not going to sit up here and go back and forth with me. I'm going to get, yeah. Not saying I'm gonna put my hands on a woman. Hell no. I'm just saying it starts getting very bad, and then I'm starts just saying however I feel, and that's when it get bad. My words seem to hold weight, I guess. But that's neither here nor there. Again, this ain't the 50-50 podcast. This ain't splitting dinner or none of that. I don't do dinner because apparently I'm scared of hoes. So, of course, you've been here for the what? How long have I been doing this now? 3 minutes? You've been here for 3 minutes. So you got your warning based on exactly what I'm going to talk about. Started out talking about Kanye's Lyrical Miracle, but it's also a little bit more insight into how I even got involved with this type of music. Because the quintessential California music isn't scaring the hoes. The hoes essentially love it. I hate calling women bitches, but the bitches love it. Shouts out to somebody else I might talk about being a lyrical genius in his way, Drake. And it was one situation that happened with Quentin Miller reference tracks, but no. After that, you can definitely tell it's just him writing it, which essentially is Fonte style. So yeah, it's a whole soliloquy I could go about. So buckle your seatbelts. So, I don't know how long this episode is going to be, but we here. Thank you as usual for being here, partner Banks. Like if you haven't subscribed already, Banks versus Davis, that's fine. But go ahead, subscribe, and just listen to this. So again, so when you define scaring the hoes, I think when people define it, they more so are talking about Immortal Technique, R.A. the Rugged Man, especially Tech Nine, who was probably the greatest scared of hoes artist ever. I've got accused of listening to him before. I do not listen to no Tech Nine. I don't know what give people that preconceived notion that I would listen to Tech Nine. Like nothing. I have bass in my voice, number one. But like people that listen to extremely petrifying the whole music have no bass in their voice, or if they do, they just smoke weed all day. Some of them dress up like Nico, and then some of them dress up like they work at ITT Tech, you know, at the front desk. Not even Geek Squad, and if they do work at Geek Squad, they got a nasty ass Best Buy shirt that ain't been washed in years. So that's what I think about with scaring the hoes. But I think now scaring the hoes is anything that has some type of lyrical matter. And at times people are joking when they say it, but more times than not, people are serious about it. I feel as if you're making music that fast, abracadabra type music, rap, as I call it, with like logic and shit like that, which I hate. I know people try to accuse Eminem of doing that, but no, it's people that do that shit, and I hate it. I hate that the way that they took the art style that Do or Die did and Crucial Conflict and Twista, and they made it to just we're rapping fast. I promise you, we're saying nothing. You're not saying a damn thing. It's ain't man, I hate that shit so much. I could tell that you definitely don't wash your ass. You smell like Honey Nut Cheerios and hot Cheetos. If you in the hot sweltering sun, if you listen to that music all day, I'd rather fucking cut my ear off like Edgar Allan Poe than listen to that type of rap. My scaring the hoes quintessential rap is what perceives to be like, I don't listen. I can't stand West Side Gun. Not a big fan of Conway, but Benny the Butcher will be. I think what people think about, I listen to that. My more so scaring the hoes is like Benny the Butcher, Black Thought, stuff like that. It's more so about it's old heads that sold drugs or they used to be in the streets, but then they start using the positivity. I will say that, like I listen to like a lot of older dudes that do drug dealing rap. These kids, they not rapping about dealing drugs because they do it. They talk about money, emotion, and all that. I don't want to listen to that, bro. Like I like soulful tunes. I like thought, and it's not to knock them. I don't want to sound like the old head Danny Brown, who is, came out with probably the rap album of the year by default so far, Scaring the Hoes. That Young Thug album is fire too, which goes to my taste. Like sometimes I listen to, the Cochise is probably my favorite artist out right now, besides Ransom. You see how that works? And Ransom is definitely Scaring the Hoes. There'll be no drums, and he just rapping about, PTSD stuff. So all my rappers have PTSD. And then this whole Jim Jones and Pusha T thing, which I'll probably get to later on. That's not even scaring the hoes. That's boring. That's boring me. All right. I don't want to see this in 2023. But again, I'll probably get to that later, or when I have a guest on who hit me up today as of this recording. I asked to come through and talk about that. And me and him are diplomat marks, so we definitely talk about that. So set it up. So I might just actually say that, but I'll talk about it a little bit. So again, my taste in scaring the hoes is a little bit more, durable. It's more listenable. I'll say that. Like if I'm riding, of course I won't pick up no woman ride listening to fucking. What else do I really listen to? I definitely don't listen to Action Bronson. That good woman I mentioned earlier, listen to Action Bronson. Lupe Fiasco, I said already. I'm really trying to think. I might not be scaring the hoes because I'm really trying to think of like scaring the hoes music per se. Like all the old music that I listen to is scaring the hoes. Like I listen to Diggable Planets to a certain degree, even though I just like one song, Cool Like That. I kind of hate that song. So I'm just going, like Tragedy Could Die. Here we go. Like I'm trying to think on the whim of who I really listen to because I don't listen to a lot of music these days. And when I do, it's mostly, old 80s house music as well. Just because, I've heard it all when it comes to rap. Not saying I don't love it, but I listen to the older stuff. But if I play like Common, I think it'll be listenable for a woman. Like if you got a woman in the whip, you play Common, I think you'll be all right. As long as it's not Electric Circus, just because nobody had no idea what he was talking about. Good production, but his second track was just sounding like a Quaalude dream or something. So I wouldn't play that around the hoes. But I feel like if you play not even universal mind control, he might be scaring the hoes. Yo, Common might be scaring the hoes. Now that I think about it, because you can't play universal mind control. Could you play Be Around a Woman? Probably so, because Go was like track 3. And then Faithful is 4. 5 is Testify. 6 Beautiful Love. So you probably could. I think that's the actual track list. If that is, that's crazy. Yo, the human brain is crazy if that's the track listing. So you might be able to play Common around it, just depending on what album you do. Resurrection, I don't know. But again, my that's my taste in quote unquote scaring the hoes music. It's more so lyrical miracle, but then it's more jazz produced beats like a P.ardon. Main ingredient, you definitely could play that around the females probably. First album, not so much. Main ingredient because it's a little bit smoother. They might listen to it. You know, so that's where it goes with me. And the origins of me listening to that more so came from. I'm thinking right now because my first favorite rap songs, and to this day, are some of my favorite rap songs ever. But the introduction was to shouts out to anybody from Cali that's listening to this. All negative one of y'all, because my own people don't support me. This ain't the cut of promo in LA, but I'm about to start lying and saying I'm from Florida or something. I'm not claiming LA no more. I'm about to be like how everybody moved to LA and start claiming LA when they not from LA. I'm about to start doing that with Florida. Even though I don't live in Florida, I'm about to start doing that. Yeah, I'm from Florida. I still got my driver's license in Florida, so it might fly. Start doing that. But that's neither here nor there. But if anybody that's listening from LA, again, all negative 2 of you people, you remember 92.3 to beat with Theo. Now, Theo is a man of, how do you say, Asi? I was about to say Asiatic. He definitely an Asiatic black man. He sounds like it, but he's not. An Asian man who sounds like me, except for he has a cooler voice and it's a cooler tone. It's like, I think his name was like Ronald Simpson. I forgot his name, but the man with the green eyes, I used to be on BT. He sound like him, damn near exactly like him, but he don't look like him. And I had a bad joke about being able to see if he has green eyes, but don't leave that alone. Nonetheless, he was my introduction to rap music. I mean, in the 90s, could be debated, but in the 90s, West Coast rap was kind of taking over. In my opinion, it was definitely taking over. Now, of course, I was a jit. Yeah, I might be from Florida. Of course, I was a jit when that happened, but it's kind of right there. In hindsight, it's kind of right there. I mean, it was big first album, and then after that, it was Nas. It was written. It was albums that was out, but it was more so the underground aspect, which I'll get to in a minute, that caught my ear as I got older. Like the Black Moons, everybody under Dug Down, Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter is one of my favorite rap groups ever. So you had, and it's a ton. Like if you go on TikTok, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the man's name. I'm horrible with names. Great memory, but I'm horrible with names to a certain degree. It's a man, and I might just put the TikTok on there in the description because I'm on TikTok. It's a man on there, and he does Digging in the Crates very well. Shouts out Digging in the Crates crew with Fat Joe and Big L. But who was also on the underground scene. Like Fat Joe, Flo Joe was 92, somewhere around that. So it was like a lot of underground acts, but the mainstream was like the Biggies and stuff like that. Buster as well. But he posts, going back to the man on TikTok, he posts like a lot of the Digging in the Crates, like the old school videos, like Jamal and again Tragedy Gaddafi and people like that from the East Coast. I'm thinking of Pharaoh Monk, who Eve, if you listen to this, yeah, he tried to clown me last year before last about liking Pharaoh Monk. I love Pharaoh Monk. And his crew, Hypnotic Minds. He was on that he was in that group if I'm not mistaken. So the men on TikTok post a lot of the older videos from that day, and you can see it was a lot of underground acts. Whereas the West Coast scene had mostly the Cubes, the Dre's, the Snoops, the Uprising, the Snoop, and also too accredited. Besides having 102.3 to beat, Big Boy was also on the come up at that time. Besides that, we had something called the box. For anybody that's young, you probably don't remember the box. You definitely don't know what the box is now. Look up if you want to know the hyperbole for the box. It relates to women. So y'all don't know nothing, but probably so because y'all got YouTube. But besides that box, we had the box back in the day where you could order the videos. It was like an 888 number or 800 number. I think it was 888, and you could just order whatever video. That was my introduction to Eminem in '99 when "Hi, My Name Is" too. And I was like, yo, what is this? It changed my life. So they would play the videos. You can order the video, or somebody ordered the video, and then it just kept circulating. Now it was like 20 cents, something like that. To call, yeah, y'all don't know nothing about this. The 800 numbers used to call, and it'll run your phone bill up. And then if you order a video, it costs too. You gotta have your credit card ready at all times. That's why I used to get a whooping for. I remember I ran up, and this is a side note. I'll get back to what I was saying. I remember when I called Nintendo Power. God bless my granny. I called Nintendo Power every day for a Link's Awakening. Dude, yo, how do I go with this? Like, I didn't even try to figure it out. I just like, let me call just because I saw the number in there. And I remember the guy's voice is clear as day today for Nintendo Power. It'd be like, if you're calling for tips on a Link's Awakening, Mario Kart, whatever the game you might have, because I was a Super NES mark more than I was a Sega Genesis mark. And I had both, but then I migrated to the Super NES. And to this day, that's probably my favorite console ever by default. That or PlayStation, but more so Super NES. Definitely Super NES, just because, that's a whole conversation piece I can have about that. Shouts out to the emulators. But with Nintendo Power, like I would call, I remember I ran the bill up so high one time, I got, bruh, my grandmother just shot on me, dude. Just shot on me, bro. Just for calling. I think the bill was up there because I was calling every day. I didn't know better. I was just thinking like, what I mean? I didn't think in account of money because I was young. That's probably where my money issues came from. But still, nonetheless, I used to call. So the box was the same way. You would call and you could order videos. The West Coast by far had the best videos. Non-biased. That's just what it is. Maybe because it was like you get to see LA and how it is. It's like parks and it looks nice and they going around driving 4.4s. You know what I mean? So it's just like or 6.4s, I'm sorry. So you get to see the type of LA culture from that, Boys in the Hood, Minister Society, even though those were horror movies, which somebody brought up recently. I was like, yeah, those are definitely horror movies. It give you an idea of exactly what was going on. So with us, we were a little bit more creative. Like you had the Lyrical Miracle guys who was scaring the hoes, Brass Cass, who look at his personal life, he won. That Lyrical Miracle stuff worked. Who he has kids with, it definitely worked. Brass Cass, we had those Lyrical Miracle guys. Ice Cube, to a certain degree, especially with his first album, he was a Lyrical Miracle guy. And he kind of always has been. He just knew how to make hits with it. Like, you know how we do it, going back to the first songs that had a big impression on me was that and Crisscross, I Missed the Bus, who are Atlanta acts, but you didn't know. When we were coming up, you didn't know where people were from unless you knew the accent or they told you where they were from. But then you had to watch the interviews. Like when Rap City first started out, you start finding out where people were from. I didn't know you were from Atlanta. For the longest, up until like 1999 or so, when their first album came out, I swore up and down Bone Thugs were from LA. That Crossroads video used to freak me out. So I think that was before 90. No, that was 99, if I'm not mistaken. But still, nonetheless, I'm not the biggest Bone Thugs fan, but I thought they were from LA. Just based on how they look, how they talk. They looked a lot like my cousins. And how they dress. Come to find out they from Ohio. And I think they from Cleveland and Columbus. So there you go. Even though a lot of people from Ohio and Detroit especially, they sound like they from Cali, which is the weirdest thing ever. But maybe it's something to do with the migration. But nonetheless, we've dominated, in my opinion, that area, and that's when the whole East Coast West Coast thing came about. Southern music wasn't a thing yet until organized noise, really. I mean, before you had Scarface and the Ghetto Boys, and then UGK. But again, it wasn't that big because it's like, how do you see it other than the box if they get their video up there? You didn't know. Like, Mind Playing Tricks on Me was the first rap song from the South I ever heard at that age, and I didn't know they was from the South. I didn't know they were from Houston because you didn't know. And then if the music was good, why did you care? Why would you care? Because, and that, goes to how it was for me when I used to listen to certain type of music. When I used to listen to, again, quote unquote, Scared of Hoes music, I started digging into crates. As I got older, I used to get teased a lot because I'm like, dude, I want this G Unit radio. I bought the games, documentary. I bought, I think, the legal copy. Everybody know they bought that legal copy. I bought the legal copy from Target. Yes, kids, at one point you had to walk into the store and get albums, which was a great time. But if they sold out the Black Album on Century and Crenshaw's Target, you would have to probably go to the one on La Cienega and try to get it. Those from the city, if you listen to this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's where I got late registration and Tony Ayo's Thoughts of a Predicate Felon. Stay with me. I'm going somewhere as far as you and being a mark for them. So as I got older, I started just, going more so. And then around that time, let's say, when Eminem came out, like, West Coast rap was essentially dead. It wasn't a lot of people coming out with stuff. It was quiet for us. It was quiet. It was just like the South was just running it. Even New York at the time, other than Jay, Nas, Fat Joe when he put out Lean Back, and before that, what's Love Got to Do with It? It wasn't a lot of people coming from, and Cameron, it wasn't like a lot of East Coast people. Dipset came out 03 because I bought that album, Diplomatic Immunity, double disc too. One of the best purchases of my life. Changed my life too, which got me to this point. So that was 20 years ago. I swear it had to be 03, 02, just because it was different and unique. But, West Coast didn't have a lot of rap around that time. We didn't get back onto the scene, honestly, until Game and then Backpack Rap. Or not Backpack Rap, the blog era, with you and I, Pac Div, and stuff like that around 08, 09-ish. We didn't start back cooking until around that time, really. The South had the longest. I mean, now it doesn't matter for the most part because there's rappers coming from everywhere. Hell, I listen to UK drill rap. There's rappers coming from everywhere that are cooking. So now it's not like a one region runs it, and besides that, you can't tell what region they're from because everybody kind of sounds the same. Not to sound like an old head, but it's true. That's where we are. So it doesn't matter now. But the South had the John Cena run when it came to rap. I want to say, I mean, St. Louis ain't the South, but they Southern-esque. I mean, since Nelly, 99, Eminem, Detroit, 99. When they came out, the South essentially ran the rap up until, man, I want to say 2020. Honestly, since 2020, music has changed drastically, and I might talk about that, how things are. So this episode just isn't about scaring the hoes. It's about, the thought process of where music is right now. But me, as I got older, I was like, dude, I think the first time I start transitioning over to where my music taste is right now is Redman Small Practice. That was like the first album I bought by myself. I was like 12 when that came out, somewhere around that. That was 2001. So I was like, nah, let me buy this. Just because Let's Get Dirty was a great song. And then I can't remember the other song, but I remember the cover vividly. He had the little person on there and they was working on that, his mascot. Because I've always been a Redman fan. And that's where I should have started out. Because I remember Wu-Tang's Triumph, seeing that on the box. I remember seeing Redman's I'll Be That. I remember seeing Get At Me Dog. Just all these East Coast acts. I was like, yo, what is this? And this is like the mid to late 90s. How's it going down with DMX? That's when I was like, nah, something is different. that gauged my music taste. That's what I'm starting to wonder. If reincarnation or whatever is real, I might have been an East Coast person in the past, more so New York, because I love New York. I love everything about New York. And I think about New York every day, which is crazy. Uh, so that started me going to quote unquote scaring the hoes. Listen to that around that time. And then I started digging into crazy more around '01. And from there, it kind of just went from that to technology. Technology essentially helped gauge my taste. I think, the artists have dismissed it because they want to get paid, which I understand at that time, especially now because what's the stream worth? Essentially now is just LimeWire, just legal LimeWire. But back then, that was the way for me to find out about, who's going on in the East Coast. Be it these burned CDs, like shouts out to my guy from the Bronx. When I was a teenager, I was cool with him. He was a little bit older than me. Dude went to my school for a second. Went to Horseman Middle School. He was from, I don't know how he went from the Bronx. That's still, I can't, I don't know how that happened. Maybe he was just, I don't know if he's from the Bronx, he could be considered an angel. Maybe he was a demon or fallen angel or whatever the case may be, which is still a demon. But no matter what, he's the entity. Wherever he is right now, shouts out to my God. But for him to come from the Bronx to South Central LA to school and then disappear like a year later, that might have been a godsend. Like I won't get too religious on this, but I feel like a lot of people I've met, like they might be certain type of entities, and I can't explain it, like certain angels and stuff like that, and they just came, did their mission, and just disappeared. Like, yo, we got to get Banks this G in the CD, this DJ Green Lantern. That's what the angel did. And job well done, because here I am now. That expanded my mind. So I remember getting these burnt CDs from him that he was getting from home. I think people were just sending them to him, and then he was giving them to me, or he was burning a copy. Yes, we had to burn copies of CDs on a desktop Windows computer and then give it to our friends. Pause. Same way I did with Spider-Man when that first came out. I had to dub a tape. Let me explain to y'all how dubbing the tape works, all the young people. You take two VCRs, you get the AV in, AV out. It's white and yellow, or red and yellow, whatever. You get those. You can get that from Radio Shack. If y'all don't know what Radio Shack is, look it up. I'm not gonna give you a whole historical breakdown and everything. But you take that, put two of the cords in one slot, put them in another slot, had a tape run, but then while the tape is running, make sure that you had the VCR underneath or above recording. Doesn't matter. And you gotta have the TV on. Like if you turn TV off, then it just stops it. So it's nothing that's playing, it's just black. So I used to do that a lot um, with the VHS tapes. Just turn it, walk away, turn it. If you don't want to be spoiled, just do that. Then you got to run it back and make sure. I also, it's crazy when I come to think about it. I don't know what happened to my guy Terrence. I got to look for him. Terrence, I went to school with. I'm giving a lot of my information out on the internet, but I don't care as it relates to this because it's historically known. From 74th Street Elementary School to Horseman Middle School, my guy Terrence, and I know his last name, but I won't say all that. He introduced Twitch. Believe it or not, maybe he was a time traveler. He just didn't have all the, connectivity and technology. But my guy Terrence was, in fact, he was the first Twitch streamer. So let me break that down. I know I'm going on side notes, but it all goes back to what I'm talking about. And it's just me sounding old. All right, this is an idea of how old Banks is, yo. If not, I could just tell you how my shoulders feel at time, my spine, my back at time. My back, I hurt my back. So that's another old reference. But I'll get back to what I'm saying. So my guy Terrence used to record himself playing video games on the VHS. Like he'll record the video game playing. He used to hook the TV up to the VCR and just transmit it from that and press record. So he'll be playing the game and then he'll have it on the VHS tape. Whatever game. Obviously, you can't see yourself or you can hear him, but that's essentially the start of Twitch. Swear on right hand of God. That's what he used to do. And I did that as well with Kingdom Hearts. But that's around the time again. I going back to initially what this conversation is, you had to do that to get certain type of music because we didn't have the internet. So me getting introduced to now where I'm at, far as my music mindset when it comes to rap, started out with Green Lantern tapes. He used to bring those. DJ Big Mike, who Cassidy used to work with a lot. I believe Siegel as well. And this is around the time I'm finding out about these artists as far as mainstream, like Hotel, Rock the Mic. So it's like I know them from the national, song. Shouts out to Rap City again. But I didn't know that they were doing. I'm like, yo, this wasn't on the album because I was buying bootleg CDs around that time too. If I didn't have enough money, $5. If I didn't have enough money to get the main albums, I bought that Cassidy I'm a Hustler album. Still one of my favorite albums ever. But you still hear this other work, and you like, yo, what was this? This wasn't on the album, so it was new to me in that sense of, oh, okay, so they do stuff outside of it, but you couldn't gauge, you didn't have a grasp as to what was really going on. So, like I said earlier, going to being a G Unit mark, I remember when Wayster first came out. Wayster was old by the time it came out. I think that was on God's Plan, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it was on God's Plan, but it was around the time. And then it hit mainstream. Because obviously, shouts out to the 8 Mile soundtrack, which I bought that legally because that album was fire. I hate them Eminem beats, and that's a whole conversation piece on their own, but everybody did what they're supposed to do. 50 on both songs. You Better Love Me and Places to Go, he snapped. But them beats is horrible. Eminem might be the worst rap producer ever. But this isn't the bad shit. So going back to what I said initially, being the G Unit mark, it's because of these mixtapes. Like you would hear them. I got the G Unit radios. I was like, yo, this is different. All these volumes, and essentially that's how I look at podcasting right now as G Unit radios. I look at it as Lil Wayne's dedication mixtapes, Lil Wayne mixtapes in general, where it's just like, of course you got your mainstream stuff because I do a lot of mainstream stuff, but then not to say this is the mainstream. But this is more so me staying warm. And then it's just like in the future, people will go back and look at this work like they do a G Unit radio because I still listen to those mixtapes. I still listen to those. I still listen to the dedication of Lil Wayne mixtapes as well. But then you got their albums. And sometimes it's been a debate if the albums are better than the mixtapes. But then you got your albums as well. So I look at podcasts in that way where eventually people might go back and look at this and then see the mainstream stuff. You're just building a great deal of work. But that's essentially what it is with me and quote unquote scaring the hoes. I don't look at it that way, but it might be. And then a lot of times when you think about scaring the hoes music, again, it goes back to not the, very Tech Nine or Logic, but that's what it is. I think it's just where we are right now, where a lyrical miracle or just lyrics in general are being demeaned. And this isn't me being the old man yelling at the clouds, of course. But like I said, I like the Thug album that just came out. I like Cold Cheese. So I listen to what I feel. And that's probably how I am as far as music in general. I take in what I feel at that time. Pause. Like the type of music that I like, it just depends on how I feel on that day. It makes me go back and listen to it. It's not about, it's not about, I just have to listen to this right now. That's why it's kind of hard for me to talk about music because I don't listen to stuff when it first come out. Like, in case you're not Amid, I can't enunciate his name properly, I'm sorry. But the new Case You're Not a Project, collab project. Like, I just remembered that came out. I got to go back and listen to that. Her Loss, I just started liking that this past 3 weeks because maybe it's the summertime or it's just a feeling. Like, I listen to music based on a feeling. Like, all right, cool. Now I want to listen to this. So that's what's probably going to happen. Like, as we get further into the summer, that Case You're Not a Project, I'll probably listen to. Or I might listen to it today. But for the most part, I'll listen to podcasts because I want to get better at myself personally and because it's more interesting to me right now than music. It's not even that artists aren't putting music out, which is true, because I'm not faulting them because, again, you don't know what a stream is. You only make money from tours, so you put music out, before tour. Like as of this moment, when this comes out, the Drake album may or may not be out. So Drake just announced another album. This is his third album in the past, fourth album in the past 2 years, which is kind of crazy. And we're not even really 2 years in. It's been fourth album in the past year and a half. And then people have their, opinions on CLB. They have their opinions on the album after that, the little house album, so to speak. And I just went back and listened to that. I was like, oh, this album is great. So it takes time. And then again, Her Loss is great. But the album, I'm thinking about the second one that has Text Turn Green. I listened to it recently. I was like, yeah, I was wrong. This album is great. But I haven't listened to it since then. Because my mindset when it comes to music is I'll just randomly think of a song and be like, all right, cool. I want to play this. That's how it is. It's not like it's a job for me to listen to it. I'm not rap radar. I don't have to listen to something at that moment. And it's music. It's all subjective, number one. And then number two, you get to it when you get to it. So whenever the album comes out, of course I'll listen to it. But I think now, so more than ever, and that's another reason why artists probably don't put out music, because as soon as it come out, people want to critique it and give it a review within an hour. That's not how it works. That's why I miss the CD days, because if it comes out Tuesday, which you used to, you bought it, and you had enough time to sit and listen to it. If you got a Walkman, listen to it in the car, however you listen to it, listen to the radio at the crib. You got time to digest it, and then it'd be like, oh, okay, I'll put a review out Friday because I had enough days to sit on it. Music comes out midnight on Friday, and people have a review within 10 minutes. Like, dude, do you, in the words of Jay-Z, do you listen to music or just skim through it? And that's true. And again, he said that on the horrible Eminem beat. Yeah, I'm going to talk about Eminem being horrible. As far as his beats, I'll say that one day. So I understand why artists aren't putting out music because it's too much. But when you have, again, the scaring the hoes artists, they don't care because they are appeasing to a fan base that just wants to hear them rap. It's nothing more, nothing less. Can you just rap? Give dope beats, dope rhymes. What more do you want? It's no experimental stuff. It's no, mysterious stuff. It's just we're rapping. There it is. Take it and love it. And that's the beautiful thing about Ransom's music, and that's one of the reasons why I'm a fan. Other than finding it to be great, like I love his music in the past couple of years. The Nicholas Craven projects, Bodie James, I've loved his stuff in the past couple of years. Eric Cassidy's one of my top 5, top 10 favorite rappers. He slowed down, thank God. He just put out something with JD that was fire, but I gotta remember that came out. It's just, he's slowing down, and that's what it's going to get to. But these artists that put out so much stuff, they put it out for a reason because they're appeasing their fan base. Their fan base will probably buy it. If not, they know what to expect when they go on tour. So it's no pressure on them because they're not backed by a label. And that's the beautiful thing about being underground, other than, the ability to go overseas and get tour money. You gotta just do the local show or the local shows in the country, which still, pays the bills. You can still make some money off of that. It's just you won't be known, which is fine. That's what I aim to be when it comes to this podcasting thing, because eventually I got to start making money off of this. I just want to be an underground act. Still eat. As long as I'm eating, that's all that matters. I don't want to be mainstream. I don't want to be Joe Budden podcast. I just want to be like the rappers I grew up to. Like years later, I just talked about it, and I got to remember that TikTok. But you go back years later, you're like, oh, I remember this, or I heard of this. Let me look it up some more. Because it's all about your work. Again, it's all about your catalog and your body of work. Because people think about Wayne more so the mixtapes than they do the albums, it seems to be. G-Unit, the same thing. You're not saying that they don't have great albums. It's just more so people go back and listen to the mixtapes more than ever. Again, this is why YouTube is the best streaming platform, even though they don't pay people. But whatever you want to listen to with stuff I haven't heard in years, I go back and listen to it on YouTube Music. It's beautiful. So I love the Scare the Hoes music to a certain degree. because I listen to everything. I listen to more R&B than anything. And that's always an interesting conversation, but it's so hard to have scared of hoes R&B. Like, I don't know who would be scared of hoes R&B other than James Brown, and that's quote unquote soul music. It's kind of hard to scare the hoes. I mean, Trey Songz should be scared of hoes music for more ways than one. Rock music doesn't have scared of hoes because all of it should be scaring everybody, depending on the genre. I love death metal, but that's beyond scary. That's what people should get mad at me for. Listen to death metal as a black man. I'm not saying I can't because we made rock and roll. Black people made all modern music, or music in general, not even just modern. They said Beethoven was probably black anyway, but we made music, so even with rock music, you can't really say anything. But it's always a connotation of rap, and again, that's why artists don't put anything out. But again, rap music is the rap music is the biggest form of music out to this day, bar none. It's the most popular music out to this day, but it always has some type of connotation to it. But that's life. People have a connotation to everything they don't understand or don't want to understand. They call them sheep, I guess, but for the most part, anything that's out of the ordinary or people don't like, especially if people don't like, they gonna hate. But that's fine. You just put your work out and don't worry about it. That's essentially what I'm saying. Just do the work. Don't worry if you're scared of the hoes or not. Well, you don't want to scare the hoes because we love these hoes. All right, that was corny. That's it. Next time I do this, good brother of the show might be on. He asked to come through so we could talk about this pusher and uh the pusher and Jim Jones situation. We'll probably also talk about Dipset because again, I touched on that a little bit. Pause, but I really want to talk more so about being a Dipset mark in LA, and then everybody started kind of being a mark once he started wearing purple, which is weird, or pink, which is weird. In '04, Purple Haze came out. I hope you know that, like '04, '05, like he had my friends wearing pink when he dropped that. When he started wearing pink, everybody would start wearing pink. I remember those shirts was like $20 at Foot Locker because of Cam. Let you know, tells you everything you need to know. So, and that's the last time people start listening to Cameron around me. But I kept listening. To this day, I listen to Cam certain times. The more so Dipset as a whole. Just admitted that I listened to, or I told somebody the other day that I bought 40 Cal's, J.R. Writers, and Hell Rails like albums and mixtapes. Legally or illegally, I won't divulge, but I did buy those. So next episode, my brother will definitely be on, friend of the show. Been on before, and we'll probably talk about that. So until that happens, it might not be another part of the banks, but this is the second episode in the week, so you'll be all right. As usual. Well, now is the usual because I keep the social medias up and I know how to, use them well. Follow me if you choose to. I hate saying follow me, but if you choose to, the man called Banks at the man called Banks on IG, at man called Banks on Twitter. So man, MAN called CALLED Banks. So like a man called Sting, there you go on social media platforms. Again, I'll post the guy's TikTok I talked about earlier. Great dude, and he does dig in the crates a lot. So until next time, thank you for being here again. Subscribe, like. That's what I will tell you to do, especially hit that like button because it helps the algorithms. Get more people here. Show my face on the last one. I didn't show my face on this one just because, hey, sometimes I got stuff to do other than just recording all day. And this is one of the times. By the time this is out too, well, it may be out. Patreon.com/Black Announce Table. I would have or would be doing something with ETH or watch along to Money in the Bank. Otherwise than that, depending on just follow me. because I might be on other wrestling podcasts. It's just I'm always working. That's the whole point. I'm always working. Till next time. Peace.